I have started, yes.
Okay, great. So hi everyone, Assalamu alaikum and welcome to the People Analytics Meetup for Pakistan. Um, just a heads up, primarily this session will be conducted in English, but if you have questions or anything in Urdu, like in the Q&A session, you can ask in Urdu, that's fine. But the reason is we have people from different areas, so we just want to keep it inclusive. Um,
Isha, you're muted, I think.
am I audible now?
Yep.
Okay, awesome. I think I got muted when I began. Okay, so I don't know how much of that you got, but just welcome to the People Analytics meetup. And we are basically just going to be conducting this session primarily in English, but if you have questions and you want to ask them in Urdu, please feel free in the Q&A session. And just wanted to say thank you to Jazz for collaborating with us and to the Society for People Analytics because Khalifa especially has been very helpful in setting up the community and just kind of providing us guidance all over the world in how to go about, building this community. And we'll talk a bit more about why, we're building it, etc. But let's just first jump into introducing ourselves. So Faika and I are going to be your hosts today. I'm Isha. I'm currently working as a people analyst at Arbisoft. And before that, I was very recently also working at Motive in people analytics. And so I have learned a lot in the field for, I would say I did focused work for about a year or more. But before that, I was doing my master's in industrial organizational psychology, which basically is where my interest in people analytics really grew as a field. Like initially, I was working in HR consulting and doing some data work, but I didn't know where this field could go or what the potential was, especially in Pakistan. So I'm really excited to see a whole lot of you here and very curious to learn about everybody and also hear from our experts. And now I'll hand it over to Faika.
Hello, everyone. I'm Faika. First of all, before introducing myself, I'd just like to thank you all for showing up. This is a very heartfelt initiative by Isha and I, and we're very grateful that you're here. But my name is Faika, and I'm a people data analyst here at Jazz. I have a master's degree in brain and cognition, which is essentially just a fancy title for cognitive neuropsychology. And I only graduated last year, so this is the pretty much the beginning of my career. So for someone interested in quantitative psychology, people analytics just seemed like a very natural path for me to pursue, which is how I found myself here at Jazz. I feel like people analytics holds so much potential to really reshape the way organizations work, the way they think about their workforce, which is why I think it's so important to have this community around it, especially since it's a budding field in Pakistan. Isha, if you can go to the next slide. Yeah, so I truly believe in the power of knowledge sharing and its ability to uncover the potential and future of people analytics in Pakistan, which is one of the fundamental reasons this community was created. But beyond that, it's also about creating a space where we can connect with other professionals, people who are curious about the field, curious about people data, who want to explore new ideas, and who are trying to drive impact in their organization just like all of us. And of course, it's also a place to learn. We want to bring in people who have done exciting work in the space locally and globally, and learn from their experience what's worked, what hasn't, and where this field is headed. So I'll hand it over to you now, Isha, to take it forward.
Yeah. So just so we can have an idea, I know we already asked you this in when you registered, but if you could take your phones or Faika, if you could paste the link in the chat, you could answer
Absolutely.
on the phone what role and what company you're in currently. So just like I'll add people analyst, Arbisoft, go ahead and add in your role and companies. And we'll just give it a minute so that everybody has a chance to respond. Okay, so it seems like we have a mix of people analysts, HR people, managers, group managers. So really exciting to see. I know we had some people, and I don't know if they've joined or not, but some people purely from a data field were interested in this area. So I think we have a pretty cool mix of people right here. Awesome. So let's just move on to our panel of people analytics experts today. So we have Yuyan here with us. She's the head of people analytics and systems at Motive. She has, done incredible work in the past as well with companies like setting up their entire people analytics departments. And I have surely learned a lot from her. She was my boss, so I can very confidently say she's doing great work still. And then we have Nauman Rafique. He's the head of people analytics at Jazz, and he has done like some innovative and amazing work at Jazz. And I would say, like in Pakistan, I've only like briefly looked at his work and heard from Faika, but I still think it's very like unique what he does. So with that, Yuyan, I'll hand it over to you to give your session.
Thank you, Isha. Thank you, everyone. So I wanted to kind of share my perspective on people analytics as a business driver because I have worked in people analytics for the last decade, really growing up from a data analyst in this field. And when I got started in this field, and still today, people ask me, what is people analytics? What do you do for an organization? What does what does what kind of value do you does people analytics bring to a company? So and then I found myself over the last decade providing different versions of my answers to these questions. And then recently, as I last a few years, as I started to really building people analytics teams from the ground up in the last few organizations that I work in, I really see the value of people analytics being driving business impact, business outcome. So wanted to share a few words of my perspective here. Isha, can I move the slides or do you have to do it for me?
I think I don't know if I can give control if that's an option. If you want to share your screen, that's also fine.
Okay, no, that's fine. I don't have the slides open, so let's just do this.
Right.
So yeah, let's just click through the slides. Isha, you can display everything. So I don't know if you've watched this movie before. It's called Moneyball. It's a American movie, played by this very famous Hollywood star Brad Pitt. And if you have never watched this movie before, it is about this I think this baseball coach who used the data about his players, his baseball players too. He's got some like second class players, really players that no other team wanted, right? And he used the data to analyze the strength and weaknesses of each player and use those data to really put together a strategy for his team that outplayed all the other teams that had A-list players in his league, and he, won great games for some seasons. And this is based on a real person, and yeah, he's one of the most kind of legendary coaches in I think the American baseball industry. So yeah, it's kind of an interesting movie to watch and really showcased how the human characteristics, our skill sets can be analyzed, can be quantified, and being used to it can be turned into unique strength of a team. And then that is kind of the challenge that faced by a lot of our talent strategies, teams that are whose objectives are to design talent strategies at our current organizations, which is, we've gotten this specific budget to be like hiring teams, hiring people. How do we utilize these people to their best potential to create a strategy around our talents, around these skill sets in our company, so that these people can come together and play games that outwin everyone else. So let's move on. So yeah, I think really now is a better time than ever to start people analytics in any organization possible. The reason why is that as an HR department, we've kind of been playing a various degrees of traditional roles in organization, and we see our roles grow over time because of all of these challenges that you're seeing on the slides, right? And then the challenges really are changes, environmental challenges, technological advancement, industry shifts, competition, organizational challenge. We have attrition, productivity, org efficiency, and really going back to my earlier point, how do we build an organization that respond to these changes and growing challenges from our environment? Moving on. Okay. So yeah, just running through these slides very quickly. Over time, and this is if you work in HR, if you haven't heard of David Urwick, he's a legend in the talent development HR industry, and really I pulled this slides from one of his talks. Over time, the role of HR has evolved. HR as a role has existed in hundreds and hundreds of years, right? Like Pakistan as a country, as a culture, has very long history. And I bet if you look into businesses hundreds, even thousands of years earlier, there are roles like HR that administratively, recruiting people, creating policies and practices that driving kind of the efficiency and guardrail, the governance of the organization. Over time, as modern organizations are created and evolve, we see the role of HR evolve as well. We are what we are placing a roles to drive functional excellence, which focus on innovating best practices in people, performance management, diverging information flow, align HR with the strategic goals. Like, if you're a company, what is your business? What is the goal of your business? How do you achieve your business results? And that translates to strategic HR, which means like, what kind of people do you need to hire? How do we manage performance? How do we manage, what kind of employee experience do we want to have, right? And really, that allows us to deliver value to all of the stakeholders. If you're a public company, as the value of your business grow, the value, your investors benefit from it, your external customers, any company that serves customers, right? Like you will essentially create an environment of which your employees thrive in, and your customers benefit of that from that as well. So this is interesting question for our participants. After hearing kind of a context and the history of HR, what do you think is the most important thing that HR business leaders can provide to an employee or the organization's employees? Even if you don't work in HR, what do you think your company's HR department have created the most values in? Awesome. All right. Thank you for keeping the answers come in. I'm seeing a lot of E and a lot of F. There's one G. Whoever said it's none of the above, would you like to share your perspective? Why do you think is none of the above?
I think Abdullah Tariq, do you want to share why you said none of the above?
Yep, it's okay. Feel free to share your thoughts and answers in the chat as well. There's no wrong answers here. All of the above and more. I do as HR, it should be done, but unfortunately not in your experience. Yeah, a lot of times, yeah, that's HR departments are given the responsibilities of creating all of the values on the list, right? But not necessarily the resource, the bandwidth, and the authority to create these things either, right? So, and I don't think there's a wrong answers here. It's all of the above, and more. And in my opinion, it's actually none of the above. And here's my thoughts in the next slide. Nisha, you can, yeah. So really, the value, the ultimate value that HR creates is, it's all of these things, but none of these things, because I think that the ultimate goal and the most successful HR departments, HR teams in the world have their eyes focused on one goal, which is to create an organization that succeeds in their marketplace, right? And that succession is, is financial succession, financial success, but that financial success has to be driven by all of these things and more that you're seeing on this list. A successful organization in terms of financial creation, the biggest winners of an organization in their marketplace is a place that creates physical and psychological safety for their employees, sense of fulfillment, the ability to grow and learn, the sense of belonging, all of these things and more that generates the financial success of an organization. And that this is where people analytics play an incredibly important role in this chain of value, right? What people analytics come in is to enable these decisions that generates all of these HR values, which then generates business value. Data has an incredible way to do these three things. One is identify and prioritize the right business problem to solve for, right? It is, if you ask 10 people in your organization's leadership team, what is the most important business problem to solve for? They might give you same answer. They might have the come together as a leadership team, discuss their business problems and have aligned on those. But if you ask them, in order to solve these business problems, what talent strategies should we adjust? What talent initiatives should we take? What kind of people should we hire? What kind of work experience should we create? What kind of compensation strategy should we create? Should we develop in order to solve these business problems, to achieve our goals? You will get very different answers from them. However, if you look into your data, your hiring data, your employee experience data, your compensation data, you will easily identify the problems, the talent problems that you need to solve against the business problems. And then another thing that data allows you to do very, very efficiently is to understand the right cause of the problem. If your business strategy is to expand the sales of your business, which in turn, you can look at the data and identify, well, we don't have enough salespeople, or if we have salespeople, but they quit very quickly. We can hire 10 salespeople and they will all quit within 3 months of joining for one reason or another. And that is the talent problem that you need to solve. And using data, you could easily understand the cause of the problem. Are we not hiring the right people? Are we not having a good do we not offer these people fair compensation compared to the other offers on the market? Do we have a terrible onboarding program? Using data, you can analyze the experiences of these employees and come into conclusions of what is causing this specific problem that is creating a shortage of your sales employees, right? And based on these causes, you could then make recommendations. At that point, your recommendation is very targeted. And with data, you can also calculate the ROI of these recommendations. How much money would it take for us to, improve our hiring strategy? What does it mean onboarding new tools to hire? Does it mean training our hiring managers or interviewers? How much money does that cost? And in turn, how much how much can we solve this shortage problem? And what does that ROI mean? So calculating the ROI of your solutions will allow you to allow you the ability to prioritize and make very targeted recommendations to your business, your leadership about these recommendations. All right. Yeah, Isha, you can display below. So I want to go into details about these impact stories. You could these are some keywords that you can use to search online. These are two famous case studies about people analytics that if you're interested, feel free to look them up and see the details of these business cases. There's one famous case, Project Oxygen, really is Google using managers' data to understand what does a high-performing, highly effective manager at Google look like, right? And then they use these characteristics that they analyze from the data to create like assessment and training materials for their managers to continuously develop the managerial roles and talents within Google. So that's one kind of pretty significant business case in people analytics. And another business case you can look it up is GE Electronics, very large company in the US, headquartered in the US. And then how are they using data to elevate sales performance by analyzing the data of their frontline sales roles. So very interesting use cases. Recommend you to look them up. So if you're just getting started at people analytics, I see this kind of myth about people analytics all the time. And I saw it more when I just got started. And then over time, as I work in people analytics and build people analytics teams, and I realized they're not necessarily true. People analytics, it is only for big companies because if you don't have enough people, you don't have enough data points, right? It's all about dashboards and the reports. We need a team of data scientists. It's not necessarily true. In my opinion, I've done people analytics in any company that is from a couple hundred employees to thousands, tens of thousands employees, right? The data sets that you get are going to be rich if you have larger companies. But if you have like small company, and I have seen people analytics done in like very small companies, like 50, 100 people. Why? It's because like the data that we get today can be analyzed in many ways. If you don't have like very large data sets, maybe there are certain data models that you cannot run. But if any company can run like employee survey, and if you analyze the employee survey data to understand kind of the state of your employee experience, like that is people analytics as well. So yeah, like I would say like any size of company can do some form or another, one form or another in terms of people analytics. And people analytics is not all about dashboards and the reports. I would even say that in today's of like AI development, there are more of a value of people analytics that are brought in by like just like having what I call like organizational researching the data, various data sources of your company, and coming to have it come down to a data story that's really help to generate values as your business. And to do that, you definitely do not need a team of data scientists to get started with. Actually, I wouldn't recommend anyone who wants to get started with to hire data scientists at the start, because you do need data scientists are specifically the roles to come in to build complicated data models to solve large scale talent problems. So if you're just getting started and you do not have the data that is needed to sustain that level of work, you actually will not generate a lot of value from your data scientists. So I'll share a little bit more about how to get started, but it is not a field where you need special talents or lots of data points to begin with. So I'll take quickly run through this chart. What does people analytics look like in practice? And this is really not specific to people analytics. If you're someone who work in the analytics field, this is kind of the golden roadmap for any like analytics, regardless of what the kind of the field is. You would always like start with descriptive analytics, like what happened, looking at the historical data, and then you move on to diagnostic analytics, like something happened, high attrition rate, low quality of hire, people leaving for compensation reasons, right? Stuff like that. Like, you understand these phenomena with descriptive analysis, and then you use diagnostic analytics to understand why did it happen, right? And this is where you really like start to looking at various sources of data and use those to solidify data foundation. From there, what data science allows you to do is like predictive analytics and prescriptive analytics, which is what is likely to happen in the future and how can we optimize. If people are leaving your company for compensation reasons, and if you've understood that is kind of the root cause from your descriptive and diagnostic analytics, like if we change the compensation in 3 different ways, change our compensation strategy in 3 different ways, like which of these ways can create the highest ROI for our hiring and retention strategy. Like that's what predictive and prescriptive analytics are. Yeah, so how to get started with people analytics? I think there are 4 important elements. One is start with problems, not tools. A lot of one of the things that I hear from people a lot, especially in my early years, is that you want to start with, if you want to start with people analytics, you need to start with some kind of dashboarding tool like Tableau, or having a very robust and advanced HR data warehouse or HR information system where you can where you can store and conduct like data like ETL with some kind of like coding. Yeah, I think that's certainly a goal that you thrive for, but it's not something that is a must to begin with. What I would recommend as a starting point is really looking at like defining your problems. Once you are able to ask the right questions to define your problems, what should we solve as organizations, HR function? Should we solve for hiring or retention or compensation or manager development or succession planning, right? What problems should we solve and how do we prioritize it? And from those problems, looking at what data do I have? What do I have today? Where are they? Are they sitting in spreadsheets? Are they in some kind of system? Like start with these like fundamental problems, and that allows, and then use those to diagnose what you need from a tooling and technology perspective. I think it's always a better approach. And once you're able to do that, you then are able to start building a strong data foundation, because you know what I need. What does that foundation need to look like in order to support the problems that I need to solve, right? And strong data foundation doesn't mean you have perfect data. I don't think any organization will ever have perfect data, but it's a good goal to have, to have your data talk to each other, right? If you have if we have two systems that stores employee ID data, and these two systems should have one ID that maps to employee attributes, that will allow you to easily connect the data from two systems and conduct more advanced analytics. And another thing that I think is very important for us to look at is to not silo people data. Like, what does people data mean? There's no single definition. I would say like people data is business data, and a lot of business data are people data as well. So like one project that I had the opportunity to work with Isha on is to integrate our employee experience data with our salespeople's kind of goal attainment, their quota attainment data. And you would say like any company will have sales, and you probably have quota attainment data. You would say that's probably a business data, but by overlaying the experiential data and quota attainment data has a very powerful kind of creating powerful connection to tell us, okay, what kind of employee experience that your salespeople need in order to go above beyond in their quota attainment. So that's something I think is important to have conversations within your organization. And last thing I would want to emphasize is our ability to build trust through transparency, because any company, when they start to realize, the HR team or the analytics team is using our data, in our people data to like doing some kind of analysis, it can create a layer of mystery. Like, even though we know we're not doing anything bad about it, but employees will have concerns about their privacy. They'll say, are you using my data against me? Are you just doing analysis to identify who to fire, who to lay off, right? So there's always going to be this level of concern. So if you're getting started with people analytics, start building trust through transparency, and tell your employees what are you using the data for, and tell them how do you plan to use the data to further enhance their experience, further develop develop your organization. And that trust building process takes time, but it's very, very important to get right. Yeah, so again, going back to earlier point, I think how to get started with people analytics, the most important thing is to find the right problems. I think that I'll leave you with this this very powerful quote: the art and science of asking questions is a source of all knowledge, right? When I reflect on my people analytics journey, that's a picture of me in my first job, and I wasn't in a people analytics role. I was an HR generalist, right? I was working in this like very very large company, and I had a lot to learn. I was a HR generalist in a very particular business unit, but I asked questions like, I was responsible for kind of the safety training for our plant at the time, and I asked a lot of questions like what is the purpose of this safety training? What is the accidents rate if we do not do the safety training before we have done any of these trainings? And how are we able to quantify the improvements that this safety training it has brought on to us? How can we improve the participants of this training if this training is so important, right? So like I ask a lot of these questions, and some of the questions I get straight up answers for. Some of it, people tell me we don't know, we've never measured it, we've never quantified it. It's hard to quantify, and that got me thinking: how do I actually bring data into this so that we have more clear and straightforward answers to these like very important business questions that can really provide guidance to the kind of the HR strategy and the HR work that we're trying so hard to do. So yeah, if you're just really getting started with people analytics, look around your organization and be very curious and start asking lots of questions. You'll ask the right ones that inspire you to look at the right data and start your analytics journey in this field. Yeah, simple 1-2-3 model. Identify one problem, find 2 insights from your data, and share your insights with 3 stakeholders. It's both of a kind of a analytics, doing analysis, getting the answers, but also like communicating, sharing your influence as well. That's all. That's all I have for today. Isha, should I
Thanks,
answer
Yuyan.
the question?
Let's say the questions for the end, and
Okay.
let's have Nauman give his session, and then we'll take all the Q&A at the end. Right? So Nauman, if you want to take over, please do.
Yes, thank you, Isha. Thank you, Yuyan. Very helpful, very learned. So guys, look, I believe the message is very clear. So it's not about right or wrong. It's not about where to start. Uh, so you got to start somewhere, even if the data is very small, even if there is only one business problem that you got to start. And that is how all the journeys begin. And yeah, so for you, Yuan, for myself at Jazz, so this is how we started, and now we are building up step by step towards where we are right now. So from an intro perspective, Numan Rafique, I'm heading People Analytics at Jazz. So today, now it's time that we zoom in from a global perspective to a local perspective, see some of the work that we are doing here at Jazz. And of course, in some of the questions, we would also like to know what other organizations are doing on this field. So be very open when the Q&A sessions. We are very looking forward to that. So first of all, how a data first organization looks like. I'll keep it very simple and crisp. Isha, if you can move on to the next slide. So when we started the journey, so very simple key principles that we followed were, leadership, infrastructure, data, and culture. I think these are the ingredients that helped us take the first step. We were learning from different functions within the organization. As usual, mentioned that we cannot work in silos. It has to be the business that is driving the show, but we as enablers need to be up to the mark to actually make sure that all the talent needs, all the high attrition areas are addressed and things like that. So this is very important. So the first step for us was the leadership intent, where we kick started. We slowly building on data and the infrastructure part. and the culture is of utmost important, I would say, from the day one till now, and as we move ahead, because now we are bringing data into the DNA. So we walk the data, we talk the data. So this is of utmost importance. So these are all the ingredients that help us take the first step on this journey within HR. And as Yujan mentioned, it's not about hiring on day one the first data scientist in your team. It's anybody who is asking the right questions, anybody who is doing the analysis, anybody who is bringing in the insights to yourself, and who is more curious to solve problems within the function. And yes, as you move ahead, you would see that data would start doing the magic. It would automatically start to grow, and you would move on from one step to the other and building on to more prescriptive and descriptive analysis. So Isha, yeah, so I'll quickly talk about the infrastructure here. Yes, we can kickstart uh, from the smallest of data, and then step by step you actually add up to the whole portfolio. So at Jazz, uh, we started this journey from one system to the other, and then connecting all those systems to our centralized platforms. And what happened next was this platform actually enabled us to develop different kind of data models, different type of insights, different type of visualizations. And now we are moving towards generating an ML and AI kind of projects. So yes, it is very important to have a key infrastructure, maybe not on day one, but as you progress ahead, you need to make sure that the system, the whole HR or the conventional HR function adds up to the infrastructure that you are building. And from there, you can actually build all those insights, all those analysis. And the good part about this whole thing is that whenever you generate an insight, whenever you generate a visualization, it would add up to putting in more data points, that it's a multiplier kind of an effect. So Isha, if you go on, move on to the next one. So I think this is the most interesting part of my presentation, and that are some of the use cases. So we really wanted to showcase, some of the work that we are doing here at Jazz. Of course, it would differ from organization to organization, but the idea is to see what kind of magic data is doing within HR, how it is connected to the business part. And in second use case, we would also like to see that building on data, what kind of opportunities are there, and what kind of interventions that you can create in the future, right? So we'll move on to the first one, which are some of the baseline insights that we have created for our users within HR and in the business as well. Yeah, Isha, go ahead. Yeah, so the idea is that having these baseline insights right on a click away with the business leaders are of utmost importance. So within HR, whenever we are looking at talent, whenever we are looking at churn, so this is the first thing that at least I come in the morning, see what is happening on the churn sides, what are happening on our digital and tech functions within the organization, which are kind of the more highest churn areas, so that we can actually get in touch with the business, see what kind of interventions that we need to do, and continuously monitor these areas. As we talked about, HR cannot work in isolation. It has to drive the business. So that is very, very important. And that is probably the key message out of this whole session that we are doing today. So on to the next one, and that is the interesting bit. So we were thinking while working on people analytics, generating this kind of data from within the organization, we were also experimenting on, the buzz that is currently in the industry, and that is use of generative AI. So these insights that we have created, available on the system or an app, but still there is some effort that the business leader or HR business partners were required to put into to actually crunch the numbers, see what kind of insights are coming out of it. So recently we have experiment, and we call this product Genie, which is backed by generative AI, where this Genie is actually creating insights for our business leaders. It is in the beta phase. So the idea is that we give all these data points to our generative AI engine, and it is producing insights for us. So lesser the operational work, I would say, and more focus on the insights. So a quick short video on this one, and I am sure there would be more, questions on this area as well.
Welcome to the demo of Ginny, a cutting-edge AI tool designed to provide seamless data insights. Let's dive in and explore how Ginny simplifies data analysis with its intuitive interface and interactive features. We'll begin with the query, can you give me a division and department-wise headcount analysis? Watch as Ginny processes the request effortlessly and generates a detailed visual report. The interactive plot allows you to explore department-specific metrics with ease, making complex data accessible in just a few clicks. Let's explore additional insights Ginny has generated to showcase its versatility. First, we have the query, can you analyze the department-wise headcount for the commercial division? Ginny delivers a detailed explanation alongside an
Yeah, so also the kind of possibilities that data can bring on the table. I think this is also very important to look into. So when we are on this journey, when we
welcome.
take on the first step, so we should also know where we are heading towards. We also need to continuously experimenting. There are times that where we actually failed on some of our products, but the idea was to learn out of the failures and move ahead and maybe develop something better in the future. So yeah, that's about it from a local context perspective. And yeah, open to questions. Isha, over to you.
Thank you so much, Naman. So interesting to see the work you all are doing. It's very cool that you've built a lot of this in-house. So I guess we can take the questions from the chat first, since we're already short on time. So I think we have a question from Abdullah. How much authority HR department needs to have in terms of overall decision making regarding hiring, termination, and recognition/promotion of the people in the company? If you guys have any insight on this, although this is more like HR focused rather than people analytics focused, so we can always move on to the next one if you guys don't really have anything to say.
So Isha, just a perspective here. So I think business needs to drive the hirings and the promotion and all those decisions. We in HR should be in a position to enable them with all the kind of data and interventions that we do. So we need to be the enabler in terms of helping business out of all these hirings and promotion decisions.
Yeah, I think I have a similar answer to that question. In my opinion, the authority, or I wouldn't say it's the authority, I think it's the impact that HR has on these decisions can be incredibly strong. But we need to be able to showcase and earn that impact from the business, right? And being able to provide data-driven recommendations is I think is one of the best things that you can do to be able to earn that impact and being able to break into a more of a kind of influential position when it comes to decisions that is hiring, promotion, on and everything across the employee life journey.
Agreed. And then another question we have is, how do you define success in solving any particular HR problem, like, for example, high attrition or low employee engagement? So I guess they're asking about success metrics when you're solving HR-related problems.
Nauman, do you want to go or anybody else from the chat?
Yuyan, go ahead first.
Okay. I would say that there are particular KPIs that you would look at. It's a complicated one because high attrition or employee engagement is not something that can be controlled by HR. That is, I think that's it's very challenging, and it can be discouraging to say, oh, like your people analytics team or your HR team's KPI is to lower attrition or increase employee engagement, because like Nauman mentioned before, in a lot of these decisions, we're enablers, we're making recommendations, but whether the company have the muscles to be able to create that influence, that's a lot of times outside of HR's control, right? So I would probably, in my experience of like leading teams, I have set KPIs in a more granular way. What are the things that we can control? Are we able to create products or data analytics that allow us to identify the ROI of our recommendations, and are we able to influence the decision making of our business to to execute on the recommendations that we generate from our team? Like that is the kind of successes that is kind of is more granular and is more within the reach of our particular teams.
Yeah, and this is, to be honest, it's not easy, measuring success on our products within HR. So what normally we try to do is, bringing in all the metrics on the table and try to connect them with the business results. If a particular function has a high attrition, how are the business results? Are they being impacted? Are they not being impacted? So we try to create all these correlations within the numbers so that we are able to present some sense out of the insights that we are creating. So it would vary from a product to product perspective.
Yep, makes sense. And I guess the next question is from Hamna, and she wants to know, what courses should one take to break into the field? Amit has shared one of his courses, but if you guys have any specific ones, any suggestions in your experience, that's fine. If not, that's also fine.
I would just plug in Society for People Analytics. Definitely follow us on LinkedIn if you haven't. Me and Amit, we work on the education committee, and in September we're rolling out an MVP of a product that we call Course Explorer, which integrates the global courses and educational resources of people analytics in one single platform. So I'm actively working with a project team to develop that product right now. So keep an eye out and keep updated with the Society for People Analytics pages, and you'll get notified.
Yeah, and Hamna, the important bit is you don't have to be a techie to be in this role. I have a finance background, moving into HR and then into people analytics. Yuyan was a journalist and then moving into people analytics. So if you have the right intent, I'm sure you'd be able to break in.
Yep. And then the next question is, what data points do we look at when we want to analyze if the employee is leaving. So I guess they're trying to understand predictive models for attrition, what factors would we consider if you want to build something like that.
Yeah, so maybe I'll chip in first here. So we were actually running a predictive model, a churn prediction model here, and there are multiple data points to be honest. So for example, we were using performance related information. Some of the interesting insights are with respect to compensation. And one of the most interesting that I would really want to mention here is if a line manager is leaving, we have seen trends that he or she pulls in the team as well, that people tend to leave from the same team as well. So yeah, there are multiple factors. There are external factors as well that you need to take into account. And internally within HR, I would say it would vary from organization to organization, but some of them I've mentioned, I think, for your question here.
Yeah, Norman mentioned a lot of very good data points. One thing that's very straightforward, and I think if you're a beginner in this, to without any like resource or foundation of your data infrastructure built, one thing that you can always look at is exit interview data. If you're not a company that conducts exit interviews, but you have employees leaving and don't know why, start to conduct exit interviews or exit survey. That's very important. Like you don't need a very comprehensive or advanced data infrastructure that does it. And then once you take in those contextual data, like people just like tell you why I'm leaving, what's my experience here. You can easily feed that into a Gen AI engine and use Gen AI engine to categorize or identify the top reasons of leaving.
Yep. Noman, I think this is about the AI model that you built. So Cheyenne is asking that is it external AI you're using or you're teaching an internal AI model? And then they're also asking you about what tool is your preferred tool in terms of output.
Yeah. So Shayan, so I'll go with the second question first. So we have been using Power BI for some time, and recently we are, experimenting on the Tableau side. Personally speaking, I am loving Tableau, but it would vary from use cases to use cases, maybe for different organization. But I believe Tableau is maybe much more visually suitable for us at least. From an AI model perspective, so currently we are using different kind of experimentations. So we have done we have used GPT, we have used Llama as well. So the idea is that we want to ultimately we want to build something of our own internally, for which we are working with our data and strategy team. So that is the business team that we have got, which is the bigger portfolio holder here. So we are working very closely with them to see if we can develop something of our own internally. But till that time, from a use case to use case basis, we see what kind of model fits in best, and we go ahead with that.
Okay. So I think since we are out of time, let's just take one last question because I think it's an interesting one and it would be good to wrap up on this, which is from Manur, and she's asking, how do you see the role of people analytics evolving? In your view, what emerging technologies, AI, and neuroscience do you believe will have a transformative impact on it in the coming years?
So theoretically speaking, I think Abdullah is right that we need to more, spend time on defining the correct KPIs. But practically speaking, to be honest, the expectations right from the beginning are very high, especially when you are in such a function. So everybody, expects, from day one that data and all the analysis would come into play, etc., etc. So I believe you need to keep a right balance. Maybe spend some time, define some key priority KPIs to start with, and in parallel, continuously working, keep working on maybe adding more into the bucket. But you need to start from somewhere on day one, and then move ahead with that balance?
Yeah, I think the role of people analytics, generally the direction that we're going is to, what I see in the industry is that there's not so much of a differentiation between people analytics or customer analytics or sales analytics. I think the general direction that we're seeing is that, AI obviously is an incredible technology that I think is breaking down a lot of silos between, our data fields, right? So far in my work experience, there has been like a segregation between, like sales teams on the sales data, customer teams on the customer data, the HR team on the people data. Maybe HR team doesn't even own the people data. And then there's like, kind of this like arbitrary segregation of like, ownership of data in your organization. What AI does, aside of the technological advancement, aside of the kind of the more powerful kind of data processing and data analysis that we can do with LLMs, what it does is like, it created a reminder for businesses that all data are business data, and the more data that you can feed into a large model, whether it's a language model or a system model, the more comprehensive, more precise your decisions are going to be, right? So all data fields ultimately have one goal, I think, which is to create, to enhance the organization's ability to make good decisions and quickly, right? So the more that you can do it as an organization, like organization's success is one good decision after another, and regardless of what that decision is about, regardless of whether that decision is about your sales strategy or how you handle customers, how you develop your talent, regardless of what it is, the more you can make good decisions fast, the more advantages that your company, your business will have, right? So ultimately, these data that are generated by your organization, within your organization, all comes, all will be utilized to develop better decisions fast in that business scenario. And the way that I'm seeing the role of people analytics is to really being integrated with the other kind of the data fields with your organization to create a more comprehensive, well-rounded, and precise decisions.
Agreed. Yeah, I think that's mostly all of the questions, but we're out of time. So thank you everybody for joining us. If you want to stay connected, you can join the Pakistan People Analytics Meetup group. I've also sent the link for the SPA page on LinkedIn, so you can follow that as well. And yeah, Faika, do you want to say something? And like, thank you so much, Nauman and Yuyan, for your like amazing insight, and you tackled all of the questions really well. So yeah, thank you for sharing your experiences with us.
Yeah, I also just want to thank you both. I think both of you said really insightful stuff that helped all of it. And thank you for everyone who asked questions as well. I think they were really insightful questions that sparked meaningful conversation. And I'm hoping we have many more of these sessions. So thank you for showing up and thank you for being here.
Thank you, Isha and Faika. Have a very good day, everyone. Take care. Bye bye.
Bye.